allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Trustee Hubbard.
Here.
Trustee Clark.
Here.
Trustee Renner.
Here.
Attorney Shoulder is excused. President Lysick here. Clerk Kellner.
Here.
Trustee Goodwin is excused. Trustee Khan.
Here.
And Trustee Long.
Here.
Move along to public comments. Public comments. If you have any public comments, please sign in at the podium, stand up, and keep them to about 2 minutes or less.
Thank you.
No public comments. And we will move along. Item 3A, Fire Department Monthly Report. Chief Ludwig is out on vacation, so you will find his report in your packet. Move along to the Library Monthly Report. Carla?
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm not going to read this whole thing out loud to you, I'll just highlight a couple points on there. On the top is a list of our programs, attendance, and our statistics. We're now back to a pre-COVID level, so I'm watching that, I'm really happy to see that. We are one of 7 libraries that are offering full services now out of the 24, but that changes quickly depending on their staffing, their COVID exposure. So at this point, we're doing fine. And we're still following the village precautions. And the first paragraph, I talked about donations. It was a really encouraging month for us. We got $317 from the bank. They have some type of a community donation program called Max the Match, where their employees put money in and then the bank matches it. And they picked us. So I'm planning on using that money to buy a new book cart because ours is a little rickety. And we also got $68.75 from a former library director who did a GoFundMe campaign. Those sound pretty nice. I don't know how to do them, but they sound good. Also, when you leave, look at the lettering outside on the window above the drop box because Bob Heineman changed the lettering. That was free of charge. He did the work, and it was real nice because now those hours are actually our real hours, which we did add to. We have consistent hours now. We're open at 10 in the morning, Monday through Thursdays, and close at 7. We're maintaining our Friday afternoon and Saturday morning hours. I did mention in the second paragraph something about our Bridges Library System Director is quite concerned, along with all the other systems directors, along with all of us, about our funding in the next year, because everything we get is based on the prior year. And last year, we had a great year for the library, so our funding this year was real strong from the county. But I guess we'll worry about that next fall. I don't think that's anything new. On the next paragraph, I just talked a little bit about weeding. You can read that at your leisure. It answers the question that many people ask us, what do we do about getting rid of our old books? How do we choose them? Where do they go? But you have to correct a number in there. We are required to have 14,000 items for a population less than 1,500. And that becomes important when we have to meet our state standards to be a public library. When we reach a village population of 1,800, then I'll have to add books to the library, but I think it'll be a while before we get 300 more residents. I also have to bring up something that's not on here. I'm starting to write a volunteer policy because I have a volunteer that would like to do some service. She's a college student. She needs to do 20 hours of service by the end of December. And my library board wanted me to write a policy. They mentioned that before this gal actually called me. We don't have one. So I approached some of the libraries. I got one that was similar to our library from Butler, because they're a real small community library. So I have it to give to John Schober for approval. I made a draft of it because she's probably gonna come in next week, and I'm gonna need to have her sign some type of waiver. But we're doing it as an understanding that this is a draft. And I've also contacted, or got some information from the village insurance company, and she will not be covered for workman's comp, but if there would be an injury, that would be covered by the village. Only a waiver on my policy states that she won't hold the village liable, and that's what I want John Schober to look at.
Is this for like a school thing?
Yeah, she's a UW Wetwater student that needs to do 20 hours of service
So
to
the school
complete
usually
class.
carries the insurance then?
Do they? Okay. Yeah, I didn't think we were liable in any way, but I just wanted to double check. So once I get that policy done, I'll give it to all of you or email it to you so you can look at it. And I also wanted to say that part of that policy is that we're gonna start background checks for anyone that volunteers on a regular basis. Don said he would do that for me, and he'll do that for this gal who's coming. On the way out, stop and peek in the library. There's a portrait from the library board to Sadie Sonnenberg, and she donated it to the library. She had been our director from 1976 to 2014. So just take a look at it, it's really nice. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you very much. And 3C, Police Department monthly report. Chief?
Good afternoon or good evening.
Good evening.
Reports are in front of you, you can take a look at it while I run through it. 2 thefts, 1 CCW, 1 assault, 4 drug-related offenses, 3 drunk drivers, 1 obstructing, 1 lewd and lascivious, 8 adult arrests, 121 traffic stops, 95 citations, 9 non-traffic citations, a total of 535 assignments, included 238 business checks, house checks, and extra patrols, 6 accidents, responded with fire on 8 calls. The next couple pages there are the items of note. We're looking under 3, 4, and 5, which we won't go into in detail because we're now on air. There is arrests and charges issued on those, and there's now a confession as of late this afternoon on those. And the DA's office has issued charges on 3 different individuals, from 5 cases on one to 7 cases on the third and 6 in the middle. So our detectives have been working with multiple jurisdictions. If you look at paragraph 3 there, we talk about which jurisdictions are involved, and it's even growing from there. Assists other agencies, 11 hours and 18 minutes. 24 salvage inspections for the year puts us at a total of 500. That program is going to be on hold for a little bit. We get another class and a new inspector. Court cases, 139 September initial appearances with 36 pretrials, 14 for the town of, or village of Waukesha, excuse me, and 1 pretrial for them. The next 2 down are the state debt collection amounts that were collected with the year-to-date totals at the end. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you.
Item 3D, President's report. No report tonight. Item 3E, Public Works Department monthly report. Eric?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before I leave, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It's going shortly, obviously. So we mowed all the DOT properties and we've done our normal stuff. Finally attended a meeting at Joy Lane. Hopefully that is put to rest now. Is that taken care of?
Pretty close. We're gonna draft a letter and get it off to all the residents out there next
Okay.
week.
What's the outcome on that?
It is a private driveway, still owned by Joy Bartel, with an easement going through, granting access to the residents.
So then we will not be plowing it?
No,
Okay.
no plowing, no maintenance until it is completed and accepted by the village, which I don't think will happen.
Also made some contacts for quotes on gensets. Tony, I think you and everybody got those. Then our staff meeting on the policies and procedures for developers and actions.
did our civil cemetery, covered everything, worked on the budget. Attended this public safety meeting here, which was regarding the emergency government. Working joint services with the town or the village of Vernon. This is an effort between us and them that was brought on here to hopefully shorten up some of our plowing time and theirs by taking on some roads that are in their jurisdiction and then taking on some roads in ours, that we can keep the trucks in the area. We're not sending them all over each village to do stuff. And we've got some stuff on the south and up to National, and they've got some stuff north there and west of there. We can handle some of that stuff down there, and they do that up there, it saves us quite a bit of time. So it's all about time savings and money savings. Sent my normal letter to the residents over on Lake Park. Send it every year. I check with Kelly Ryder, see if you get the stuff. Finally, Cajun is in compliance. For us, that's a big deal because we were out there at the end of 3/4 of the rain, and with just a minor, few things, they're still in compliance. So that's really good, and it's been a long haul to get it done. We built a fairly large leaf bin. It's the largest one we've ever had right now, and I can tell you I'm running between 3 and 9 loads a day, and I know Chuck, you've done pretty much the same, so it's one of the things that's really working out good. We completed our brush pickup in 3 days, and we were able to run right through the monsoon that was here, which was pretty good. Submitted a bid for the Woodstock sidewalk that we usually do, and we were successful in getting that. And we put 2 new air tanks on trucks number 6, which we're leaking for quite some time when it's taken care of, so we're ready for hopefully no snow. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving. Item 3F, report from professional services, not here tonight. We'll move along to before we let's approve the minutes. For item 4, consideration and approval of minutes from October 1st village board meeting.
Make a motion to dispense with reading.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That's all I have. There was only one meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correct? I didn't take that amount back out, right? This one's
Yes.
already approved.
Yes.
All right. Item 5, approval of bills. 5A, discussion, consideration, and approval of bills from October 1st and October 14th. We already approved the October 1st ones per the minutes we just approved. So the dollar amount will change. To $105,722.87. So we're approving the bills from October 14th in that amount.
I make a motion motion to approve the bills from October 14th in the amount of $105,722.87.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we approve the next set of bills, I'd like to skip ahead in your packets to item 7C. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the core engineering contract for 2021 and possibly 22 and 23. It's in your packet. They've been doing a fantastic job with Naomi, their new engineer for us. The rates are attached, they go up slightly each of the next 2 years.
Have we had any interest from any other parties?
No, well, we're gonna continue to keep Applied Technology on as a second source. Lynch is out based on past experiences, and Fulf is ineligible because they are Village of Vernon. So, it's been pretty good for us. Finance and Personnel recommended to the board to approve it pending the attorney's review of their contract verbiage.
It was a multi-year agreement?
We can go 1, 2, or 3 years, yes. And I think the only advantage to booking into 3 years now is locking in the prices now as opposed to them possibly going higher than what's quoted today.
Does it have a kicker in there for annual increases? If you do a multi-year contract?
That's what I just said, yeah, the rates are listed here.
Oh, so what,
The attachment fee is the rates, the 21, 22.
I got it, okay, I see it now.
Yeah,
So we
this
opt
is
into 1 year, there's chance the 22 and 23 would go up.
Correct.
higher than what's
I
quoted now.
got you.
What was the recommendation of the finance related to?
Finance personnel recommended approval based on the attorney reviewing the contract's verbiage.
But what type of term?
They wanted to leave that up to the board for discussion.
I think the court has been okay with us for now, so I would make a motion to approve the 3-year contract pending attorney's review of the master agreement.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7D plays into the next part of the budget, paying the bills. It's our annual renewal for our insurance. Finance and personnel recommended approval at the existing amount. If you go to the third page, it gives you the breakdown on the finances. The only option was they quoted us a $6 million coverage instead of a 5, which is off to the right. It would still be less than what we paid this year.
But we're currently at $5 million
Right.
coverage.
If we stay as is, it looks like our policy drops roughly $3,000 for the year, 29,78. Almost 6%. And we do get our rebate out of this at some point during the year as well from LWMI.
Insurance rates actually are going down.
Yeah, well, I suppose due to COVID, less travel, less stuff.
This type of insurance, yeah.
We didn't have smashed windows this year.
I make a motion to approve the $5 million option for coverage with R&R.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the third item that plays into the paying of the bills is discussion, item 7E, discussion, consideration, and possible action on Waukesha County Center for Growth contract for 2021. That would be just about the last thing in your packet there. The dollar amount on that was $2,772.71 for our annual membership. Finance and Personnel recommended this up for discussion.
The question that came forward was, should we keep this? What have they done?
Right.
Or what do we expect?
What benefits have we seen? The only thing that I have documented for the actual tangible benefits is we were able to secure a We Cares grant for one of the local dentists. That's the only thing concrete. Everything else has been abstract and deal with the development up on I-43 and 164.
Or related to the potential that we were gonna submit the package for sewer pack.
Right.
But we didn't have enough COVID impact locally to really justify that, being a good candidate is what the end result was.
Yep, we were disqualified because we didn't lose enough businesses and
Didn't feel enough impact for
Employees.
COVID. And I had been a meeting with them monthly
right.
related to economic development in the area of Waukesha County. There's probably 12 of us represented, 12 different municipalities represented. We talked about challenges occurring. A lot of it has been circled around COVID, so for us, you know, you only get so much benefit out of that, but they start talking about, projects and housing and things that are coming down the pipeline in the area, so. They do have that grow fund for small businesses to tap into if they're doing expansion.
Right, or if they were to relocate to Waukesha County. And this dollar amount was accounted for in the budget.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you know, especially after the year that we've had, you know, that networking, and tapping into resources is gonna become more and more crucial, in the future, if development does pick back up, or, if we do have an opportunity for that other, grant that he had mentioned,
Right.
Tim did. It wasn't the sewer pack one, but the other one that he said we would have a larger shot at getting into.
EDL grant or?
Yeah, yep. So, to me, for $2,700, you know, when you really look at the numbers, it's some pretty good exposure.
What was that?
I will make a motion to approve it, how about that?
There you go.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. circle back to item 5B, discussion, consideration, and approval of bills from November 5th in the amount of $104,110.98.
Warren, can you repeat that, please?
$104,110.98. 104110.98.
I make a motion to pay the bills in that amount.
Second motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills are paid. Move on to item 6A, home business, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the Village of Big Bend Civil Yard Museum update. In your packets, you have letters and information from Sadie and Bobby and Nancy, as well as what you had heard at the last meeting. Does anybody have any questions for either of the parties?
I guess the question that I have is, were there items from the museum that were sold?
Yes.
And what was done with the money, or where did it go?
Never came to us. We never had a dime of the money.
The village board took care of that, they decided on what to sell, they decided how to sell it, and they kept the
Went
money.
into the
So-
general fund. We never, and it was a sale through all the departments that went online.
Okay.
Do you know what kind of items offhand were sold?
The only two things we can think of for sure were there was a strawberry box maker, and then there was some type of,
Farm equipment.
yeah, a big, huge thing that was,
Blocked the door.
yeah, it was so big. If there was other things we didn't know about, but those for sure we knew.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
I'd just like to say, on the appraisal, the gentleman from Lake Geneva that was consulted with the appraiser, he knew of the church, and years ago, he did some repairs on the windows. So he remembered the Baptist church. And his name is in there,
Right, yeah,
yeah,
we saw that, that was a pretty nice appraisal.
yes.
I have a question for Nancy regarding the certified letter she received stating that she is no longer museum head. Was there any reason given or explanation provided to you?
Because I had an argument with Carl on what they had done, even though I was told by every board member individually, and I had actually polled each person. And they said that the museum is my responsibility still. The only thing that was gonna change was the fact that the budget was in the library budget. And so when I had told them 3 separate times that I had all the decorations, I was gonna put them up, made sure they were gonna be on for the village party. They were worried that it wasn't gonna be decorated for the village party, even though I had done that year after year after year. And I had special decorations that I bought myself to put up, and they were very beautiful. They would not obstruct the windows. I had the 60th anniversary display that took 4 months of research and 3 months of putting it together, as well as the help from the Lions Club and my husband. And they hung all the decorations that just obstructed 2 out of the 3 windows, and it looked terrible. And so when the board could have actually backed what they were what they said, that I was in charge of this, they backed down and they got rid of me.
I was seeing a letter from Nancy as she addresses mold issue. I don't recall seeing any signs of mold when I was down there. Have you seen any
What
further
was there
issues?
was taken care of. What happened with the fault of the dehumidifier is no fault on us. A machine could stop working, and that's what happened. And it was during the time with the first virus. We stayed apart from each other. We just stayed apart, period.
And do we have more people with access to that room now that's being checked on, or no? Not yet?
It will be.
Okay. As long as there's some kind of a maintenance interval, so to speak, where somebody's at least popping in, even if you guys can't make it as
Yes,
volunteers, as long as
exactly.
somebody's checking in on the room to make sure there isn't a water issue or a mold issue.
No,
DPW will have access to that room shortly.
But you haven't, as you moved some of those things around, as you were kind of getting into the back corners, you didn't see any other signs of mold or
no,
anything?
as you
Okay.
see, we showed you,
Yeah,
and we appreciate all the board members that came down there, looked it over, and spoke to us. We really appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't smell musty or moldy
No,
when I was in there
there's no
either, and I was in there a week before you,
No,
Which-
yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Very
good,
fair.
so that
That's
tells
good.
you over a period of time, it's not building up again or what have you, so.
right.
Anyone that accesses that room, hopefully, if they see any signs of mold, can, you know,
Exactly,
raise the hand and say, hey, because
exactly.
I don't want anyone down there working around those conditions, or,
No,
you know, obviously we need to resolve it if it is, so.
I did talk to the Waukesha County director of the museum, and she said anytime you have mold in there like that, you have to have mold abatement come in and take care of it. She said mold is all around. She said it's in the air. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's there. And if it's bad enough where it literally molds books into a box, you know it's in there. I was told that there was a pair of skates that were hanging out and they were full of mold.
There's a pair of skates hanging there right now, and there's no mold on them.
So I think it's unfortunate that there has been disagreement between these 2 parties and that the board is getting involved. And I think that, yes,
and that is sad.
we made a decision without having all of the facts behind it. What was presented was that there was mold, that the dehumidifier didn't work, that mold can happen, over the course of a week, month, whatever time it was, where you guys weren't there to take care of it. I think going forward, we need to make sure that someone is checking on that room on a regular basis. If you aren't going to be there for a period of time, the best solution would be that everyone would be able to work together. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get that out of the 2 parties at stake here. And that's unfortunate, I think. From what I have seen, I think that you guys have done a lot down there You can walk through the room, there's still a lot of work to be done, there's a lot of work to be done with storage in general with this
Right.
village. And there's areas that need attention, things like that. As far as what's being thrown out or what was being sold, do I think that some things should be thrown out, whatnot? It's not for me to say, I'm not a historical person. And things in my house, yes, I get rid of it all the time. I don't want the stuff. But from a museum perspective, I don't know the answer. If you guys are to stay in charge of it and are looking to throw things out, if Nancy wants to pick it up based on the letter, then she can have that and she can have it. But again, I don't know what should be or shouldn't be thrown out, but it sounded like you guys had a process in place. I don't think that as a village that we can afford to keep everything. The rooms are only so big. And like I said in here, it would be nice to get, things out of here, like the desks that were in here, get them out, like, let's declutter, let's make it look nice, kind of thing. So whatever the board decides, I think that we need to keep in mind that the space is the space that we have. We need to stay within that. We do have to get rid of some things.
I
But
think
again,
Shane's done good though, getting the library stuff out of there and working on getting all the fire department stuff out of there and having those departments go through their things.
They have dealt with what's to be kept and whatnot.
So, and like you said, the room is comfortable now.
if there was any chance that the parties could work together, that's what I would be for.
I also want to let you know that there is still a water problem. There's always been with that building. The fire department also had gear that had to be thrown out because it was so full of mold that we couldn't just walk out. The fact that whenever there's a truck that comes in, maybe out of the rain or out of the snow, and it drips, you have water getting underneath, and as soon as the building was built, we started having the problem when they wash the trucks. They don't do that anymore, but you still have a truck coming in with snow on it, truck coming in with rain on it, and you have 3 or 4 trucks like that, you have water draining off of them. It goes underneath where the walls are, and it collects in the museum. And there's stuff on the floor, the boxes that were full of water, and molded. There was more than one. It was more than just the one box. And there was 6 boxes of stuff that was gotten rid of. They were donated items and they were research items. They weren't things that could just be thrown out. So,
Nancy.
and there was also another room that was on the fire department side that had a lot of the stuff that was research stuff that I was working on at home, and I was told that that's no longer there. These are things that were also donated, and they were research, and they were one of a kind, and the stuff that they got rid of were one of a kind. This isn't multiple things. These are, and they were thrown in the bottom of barrels,
Kind of
they
cut
were
in here a little
broken.
bit. We just stated that we don't have infinite room to store these things.
I understand that, but I had also asked them if I could have it before they threw it out, and they chose to just throw it out, and then they kept throwing it out even after you had told them not to.
You know, may I just,
I don't want to get into a long
No.
dragged out.
and may I just say, Bobby and I have discussed this. We've put in a lot of time, we've done a lot of cleaning. We are not here to argue. We don't. We're done with that
Yeah.
part of it. We just want to be allowed to continue, do what we're doing. This back and forth is not going to solve anything. It just is not. And we say, it's one room, so many square feet. What's an antique, what's valuable, may be of no value to the village of Big Bend.
But you're making that decision.
That's what
That's what.
I'm for.
That's what I made the decision too, and a lot of the stuff I didn't even have
I'm
a
done.
chance to go
Right.
through.
So,
I don't want this turning
Right,
into an
that's right. I'm
argument here.
done.
Neither do I, but I've never
No-
had
no
a
more.
chance to even
Unless
talk.
there's a question asked of you.
so I will say that we took a tour And we have advised all boxes, containers, nothing can be stored on the floor. So we are working on that because it's not just a problem in one area of the village, it's a problem in multiple places. We cannot have boxes on the floor. So it's not just a museum issue, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've got issues with clerk storage, with police storage.
Correct.
It-
So water getting into boxes that are stored on the floor, it's gonna happen. That's why we have to get everything up off the floor, whether it's on a pallet, a rack, something like that.
And that limits your storage space.
Correct.
You know, when you're taking away square footage, you can't keep everything. I realize your display is limited too. You can't put an elephant in a display case, it's small. That being said, I think the board needs to come to a decision.
Well, as Michelle kind of reiterated in the beginning, you know, the board originally made a decision that was hastily with only a bit, you know, a small piece of the puzzle. Since then, we've all done quite a bit more legwork, visits to the museum. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of discussion through the meetings, out to the side, these letters from both of the parties involved. Also, she says, you know, it's unfortunate not everybody can work together, but sometimes that's the nature of the beast and that's life. My personal opinion, I guess I would make a motion to keep Bobby and Sadie on as the ones in charge of the museum until we saw otherwise in the future. I don't know that we need to rehash this over and over again. I think they're doing a good job. They've made some decisions, they're educated to make those decisions. We have to trust them to do that. As long as the dehumidifier and all that stuff has maintenance around it so that can't happen again. And there's things off the floor. If there's the option, if you guys are needing to conserve space and get rid of things, give her the option to take it before you throw it in a dumpster, have at it. If she wants to take it instead of going in a dumpster, more power to her. You know, then at least she has that opportunity.
My only concern is from the budget, being on the Personnel and Finance Committee, that based on the budget set forth, is that we would instruct you that you need to stay within the budget that's given, that we can't go over budget.
Correct.
So,
That makes sense.
That's never happened.
My 2 cents on this whole thing, first of all, I would encourage everyone involved to try to find some common ground, if at all possible. One of the things that makes a historic preservation work properly, a museum work properly, is that everyone that has great passion for it can find some middle ground and work together to try to drive it forward. My thing leading into the future, my concern, and I addressed it with both of you while I was down there, is do we have anyone that is interested in continuing this? Because at some point there's not going to be anybody to basically succeed the duties to continue on with this museum. I'd say it as politely as I can, none of us are getting any younger, and me included. One of the things that we need to do is to make sure that once everyone has retired from wanting to deal with this, is can we go ahead and find someone that would be willing to lead forward, and that needs to be an integral part of the discussions so that someone can get trained up a little bit on some of the knowledge that's up here, but not necessarily on paper or on the shelves down there. Everything that I've heard from all of the ladies is tremendous. I could sit and talk for hours about it. No, I'm not volunteering myself to try to become the museum successor, but the knowledge that's up here is the most valuable thing that anyone can give. The artifacts and the historic pieces that are down there are great, but it's up here that counts. And that's why I go back to my whole thing that I hope
that everyone can find some common ground in the future to try to bring it back so that we can have the most productive and the best museum leading forward. So
I would
that's my
second
two,
what
that's
you're
my
saying.
2 cents on it.
So second
So-
discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's what I
have,
take it as.
right, we had a motion, I'm gonna assume that was a second. By discussion, I'm gonna call for the vote. Any further discussion, I assume, was included there. So,
Is it possible that I could get some of the research material that I have collected over the years out of there, so it doesn't get thrown? Because I don't trust it. I also would like to know if the stuff that was put into that other storage room is actually there or not. No one's been able to tell me yes or no. There's a lot of very valuable information that were in those boxes, and I don't want to see anything happen to them. I really want them back.
we'll discuss that after the meeting then. We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. We will talk with Sadie and Bobby and try and get you what you would like and coordinate.
Lauren, at this point, we have no access to the fire
Correct.
station, so if Nancy has things in the fire station, or she thinks they're gone from the fire station, it wasn't us that did it.
No, right, I understand that the room was total chaos too, when we went on tour and looked at it, you know, Jamie took us through there, it's piled high with everybody's stuff. So, maybe we can get one of the chiefs down there to get all three of you access and see if you can figure out what's in there and what you want and what we need to keep and what we don't.
Well, Jamie did say all the empty boxes that are taking up so much space, he has a spot in the fire department that we could put some of those empty boxes. To, again, get stuff off the floor.
Excellent. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna skip ahead here to Jim's item, just to, not make it sit and wait any longer.
Bouncing around, it's okay.
Yeah, sorry. Item 7F, discussion, consideration, and possible action on Harvest View renewal of their development agreement. We just received the drawings, stormwater drawings and calcs today. I'm gonna request that the board table this. We have a special meeting of the board on the 17th to approve the budget. And in speaking with Naomi and Mary today, they both felt that that gave them ample time to review everything and make any recommendations for changes, should there be any, before that.
Yeah, and if you don't mind,
Please.
if there are changes to the plat or construction plans, realize
Yeah.
if that is their conclusion for this approval,
No,
realize there may be costs to the village because part of those changes would be related to the Badger Meadows drainage issue
understood.
that we've been talking about. So
Right,
our intention is, and I explained this to Mary, that we're moving forward with what we have for this 2-year extension, knowing, and Warren and I talked about it through email communications, that knowing that if and when Harvest View does get developed, we do have that stormwater issue to address, and we do probably have to bring things up to a more current day standard. And we understand that, but since I'm not building it today, I'm asking that that condition be put on, that we would have to do those prior to any site improvements happening. So I believe, and I expressed this to Warren, that that's going to be your discussion 2 weeks from now. I'm just letting you know we've had that discussion. I've had it with Mary, I've had it with Warren. I think Naomi, I would have hoped, would have been able to get the plans from Applied Technologies back in 2008 when we originally
Will
got
couldn't
those
find
approved. Yeah, so
yeah.
we found
Yeah,
them.
we went there first, he came up with a bunch of stuff for us, but he couldn't find the construction plans
Yep,
or the calcs for the stormwater management, so thank you very much for getting that to
Yep.
us. Yeah, you're right, we will include, you know, that option at the end of the developer's agreement should you proceed.
Yep.
But I think they want to just make sure that everything in the developer's agreement and the stormwater are up to current day standards. So,
Well,
I don't foresee any problems happening.
no, and honestly, because of the timing of the developer's agreement, they received should have been up to the standards as of the date of the developer's agreement, with the knowledge that updating would have to occur prior to site improvements. So,
Gotcha.
and I don't know if the village has changed their stormwater. I don't know if the state has since then, but that's for them as experts.
We are required to, so ours will change to match the DNRs. We're in the process of approving that right now, so we're gonna,
Okay.
I told her, I said, just make sure everything's good on your end, so you don't have to change it again next year.
Yep.
So, that's,
And a real quick update for the village board, because I know one of the discussions at the planning commission was where are we with the village of Vernon on our agreement there, because we have an agreement because of the attachment to Oakview. They did approve it, I'm just waiting for their village president to sign the amendment. They've had it for about a week now.
yeah, we'll knock it out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because your agreement goes through the end of the year, right? So you're filing for a 2-year extension?
Yep.
So we got a little bit of time for them to do their due
I
diligence.
don't wanna leave you hanging, but I just wanna make sure everybody does what they're supposed to do.
Yep, no, I just wanted to be clear with this board so they knew where we're at today as they're tabling it, just
Sure.
that there is knowledge out there.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So,
I'll make that motion to table.
Second.
any further discussion?
Would be table until a special?
Yeah.
Yeah,
two
till-
weeks,
yeah.
roughly.
Well, until the next meeting of the village board.
Okay, alright.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sticking around for the water discussion too.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Just because we had given to the village president our one-page agreement for access, that's why.
right, thank you. Item 6B, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding occasion fill site in general, as well as their conditional use grant and their site plan. You have, this is backwards, and you can't really do this because it hasn't gone through planning yet.
Yeah, this is new, right?
Right, well, we've had this for a while.
Correct, but it wasn't on the agenda for planning.
Right, it has to go through planning before it comes to us, but for your review only, you have the recommended approval of the site plan from the village engineer and the attached site plan. It'll be coming back at you in December for final approval. Other than that, they are in full compliance, if you heard Eric say, and I believe they are shut down for the winter, so things are looking good there. Any comments or questions? Yeah, we'll move along to item 6C, discussion, consideration, and possible action on groundwater exploration proposal update. Did you put anything in the packet for
There was
that?
nothing in the packet.
Okay, we got our proposal back from Jeff Gibson. It was for $50,000 for phase 2 of the groundwater exploration. Almost all exclusively on Town Realty's property. We obtained the right of entry contract from them. We just need to find the money to do so. It's not in the 2021 budget. We had several other major expenses come up for 2021 that we had to take care of. Police record management software, new server and computers for the village. And,
Addition of the DPW record.
yeah, there were several things. So we were a little strapped with superfluous income. But we do need to keep moving forward with this as well.
Yeah, I sent out an email today to the parties over at Zilver, trying to see if I could spark some creativity or some options. So I'm hopeful that we can try to figure out a creative way to bridge this gap.
Now, if I understand correctly, the $50,000 estimate is only for exploration with equipment, to basically ground pound and find where the water is at, the best place that they have, but that has no costs for actually doing any.
Correct. This
You're on.
is,
Is this the ultrasound?
this is
study?
the ultrasound study, exactly.
Phase two.
They drill some test holes, they drop some equipment in them, and they put some ground equipment out throughout the, but the kicker is this thing is time sensitive, meaning seasonality wise, so as soon as the ground starts to get covered with snow, and it freezes, it locks down, they can't do this phase two, so then if this doesn't get done by the time that occurs, then this can gets kicked down the road to spring.
Right now is perfect timing for it because the crops are out and
Mm-hmm.
the ground is ready. Yeah, if you wait till spring, now you got crops going in, the ground's all soupy and muddy. I do have to get in touch with Mr. Gibson on his quote because in talking to another engineer, he expressed concern that the dollar amount was
A little high.
higher than it should be, correct? So I'm gonna give him a phone call tomorrow and see if he can't sharpen his pencil for us.
I think the issue is we don't have the money set aside to do this. So we would be looking at a loan or something like that where we're just working on paying off. So for all of you guys, we actually will pay off one of our loans come the end of the year. But we still have our big debt service loan as well as one bank loan left. So we'll have paid off one bank loan. So we
From
still
sale
have,
amounts.
yes. So,
Like I said, hopefully we can get some dialogue going with the developers to see if there's another option. It has to be done, in order for this project to move to the next phase, it has to be one of the steps taken. Now, with that being said, the next phase is to actually do a test well, which is gonna have some dollars attached to it as well, so this conversation needs to go deeper besides just this phase 2, 50K or potentially less, hopefully. So that's where we need to start having this discussion, like, okay, what are our options? Is it another promissory note? Is it some commitment from the developers in play, knowing that the money will come back through the TIF? We're going to explore those options to see where our funding is possible.
Which would be probably years down the road.
Yes. Yeah, you don't get anything back from the TIF for years. Development has to occur before you start getting money back out of the TIF, so it's not a short-term thing.
Is the, sorry for
No,
interrupting.
you're part of this
Is
discussion.
the, I know Dan Scardino has made presentations. Has the village started the action to amend the TIF to include that property?
We have had discussions with Ehlers on it, and they said we have plenty of time because the TIF or TID cutoff is September 1st.
Well, I'm talking more on the timing of their development, because if they start constructing prior to it being in the TIF, you may run into the issue of it's not as big of increment increase.
Correct,
Yeah, it's
correct.
good.
No, yeah, we've started the conversations and the work on it already with Ehlers, and
Yeah,
they're
'cause-
aware of what we want to do. I don't think they've closed on the land yet.
No, it sounds like there's enough time to still get them pulled in before any major development occurs and impacts that capability.
Because at that time, I would think the village would be asking us the question, will we be looking to amend the TIF to bring in a harvest view? Because that would potentially change the plat that we're asking for the extension.
Correct.
Still being a mixed use, there is a residential potential of which, you know, we presented to Tim Casey a while ago, not in this area, but in a different area of it. So instead of going back and forth on amending the TIF and boundaries and stuff, that might be the time that we all are sitting at the table going, if you do it once, let's do it properly.
Yeah, no, there's a couple discussions happening at the same time related to that. So
Okay.
no, the idea was to go in and do it once, pull in whatever needs to be pulled in.
And I know at the planning commission, there was a discussion of that access road. I think you're still with the intent of setting up a meeting with the stakeholders to see if it makes sense.
Correct.
To optimize that.
That's what I latched onto today when I sent out that email. I
Yep.
used that email as the springboard,
Okay.
so, because I knew that was still something that was on the table that we hadn't really gotten good feedback on, so it's kind of two-pronged effort.
Correct.
So let's talk about future money here. I mean, we're not just talking about 50,000 to do exploration from the surface.
do the work to find where the water is. The next step in the process is going to be doing exploration drilling. That's going to run any place at a base of 40 to 60,000.
I think our last one was our lap, we put a test well and it failed.
Right.
Yeah, that
How much
was
was that?
30.
But we approved more than that, but
We
we only
approved
spent
30, we approved 38, the invoice only came back at just under 30. Well, that was because they didn't have to actually sink the pump.
So we're talking in the range of total now, call it at a base amount would be 80,000 if you talk 30.
Well, if you only drop one too.
If there's only one test well.
Right, if there's only one test well, but more likely you're going to be in the 100,000 range, 120,000 range.
Correct.
And then the next phase after that would be to actually do the well installation.
The production
Well,
well.
there was a
The
step,
production
there's
well.
a step between the test well and the ultrasound, the ground study, and that's the small bore drilling.
Right, that would be like the first exploration, and then you would actually drill a hole for a production
Right.
well before you actually come back.
Yeah, so you're looking at 6 figures plus
Yeah,
to get a test well sunk.
so are we going to go back and have the same conversation 2 more times after this, or do we try to get an allotment?
No, we're not gonna do that,
Oh,
and
yes.
the other thing is, we have no guarantee of finding water.
None.
I mean, we could,
And that's where I come to question, should we be looking at redoing putting money into that, because it will cost us to redo it.
And if we can't find water, we won't get reimbursed for it, I believe.
Correct.
well, we can find water, but we're gonna have to go down 1,600 feet.
Yeah, worst case, you do a deep well, but the cost goes up significantly for a deep well,
Absolutely it does.
so.
You're drilling through several hundred feet. of
No,
water.
I think tonight, unfortunately, I think what has to happen is we table this, you know, because we need to explore these deeper funding options, knowing that we don't have the capacity for it. Or we need to explore what our capacity is, if it's a promissory note option or not, through discussion. I'm not saying that's the path, but
But I think if you're looking at that, then you have to put the other projects on the table that need to be addressed.
Agreed.
I.e. the Badger Meadows water issue
yep,
that
no,
needs to be
agreed,
addressed,
totally agree.
the roads that need to be addressed,
Mhm.
things like that. So is this really our priority,
Mhm.
or is it the things that we truly need to do as well?
No, that's all
We've
part of
dug
the discussion.
ourselves in a really bad hole that when we do the budget, unfortunately, we assign $400,000 to $500,000 to our debt.
Debt covenants, yeah. No, I get it.
So
No, I'm
do
saying
we
that's all part of the
really-
discussion.
And
I'm
that's
not
going to
saying,
increase in the next 2 years.
Correct, it increases before it goes down, and that's the best part about having this one loan paid off, is that hopefully it won't increase, we won't feel as much of the increase, or the burden to the increase, because we'll have one loan paid off. But we still have that other one. We have to keep in mind that prior to this, we weren't making budget. They were going to the bank and pulling out money to pay payroll at the end of the year. So we're paying those off now. And that's part of why, the budget is so tight, is that we are making these payments. We're not going up in taxes, because we have one of the highest mill rates. Unless that's what you would choose to do, then you'd have to go up on taxes to have money to fund the rest of this.
Michelle, I'm assuming that if we go into more short-term debt, that's going to limit the amount of money that we would have for other things that you were talking about, road repairs and.
Well, public safety would like to come forward and say that the village needs to purchase and invest in emergency management and having, a generator available. We don't have anything, should there be a natural disaster, something happens in this area, we don't have anything to run this village. So that's stuff that we need. And I think we need to, as a board, prioritize where we need to go. And I think that's where, it was brought up at the last meeting, would it be better that we would put in, Harvest View is on the map right now to be a neighborhood. Right now, that suits us better, it gets us more tax revenue, and it's something that could be done right now if the developers want it. Without needing any of this. And I think that's what we as a board really need to think about. We need to look at our long-term financial plan.
I will point out that Ayers has done kind of that sensitivity analysis of, you know, the land and the current uses versus changed uses. And if Harvest View stays as a single-family residential, the increment there just is not as much as if that would be a different use.
Correct.
Yeah, that came up a year and a half ago at least, yeah.
Right, yeah, it doesn't benefit the TID as much, but it doesn't go into TID, it benefits the tax base, you know, greatly.
With the assumption that there's no infrastructure costs,
Mm-hmm.
correct? So that's the argument. Alright, so I'll make a motion to table.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion?
I would suggest that if we do table this successfully, that it's going to push us until spring at the earliest, that we can do the next phase of water study. If we do move forward with that, I would highly suggest that we look for a second or maybe even third quote from competitive businesses to substantiate the pricing we're seeing from the current provider.
And I think that we need to bring forward the full price and be transparent with it so that we know what we're approving and what we're getting ourselves into. The more money we start sticking into this, we need to be,
No, I agree. I mean, at this point, we're gonna come forward with the whole thing instead of this piecemeal stuff, because it turns into this discussion every single time. So we gotta make sure we come forward with everything. Makes sense?
Will do. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion tabled. Topic tabled. Motion carried.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Item 7A, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the approval of the following operator license applications. 1, Richie's, none. 2, Papa Staches, Taylor S. Peterson. 3, Shamrock, Heather I. Thew, and Dawn M. Wetzel. Chief?
All were approved at public safety, recommend approval.
Thank you.
I make the motion to approve the operator licenses for Taylor, Heather, and Dawn.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? License is approved. Item 7B, discussion, consideration, and possible action on adopting the Waukesha County Emergency Management Plan for the interim until the Village of Big Bend establishes its own plan. Update.
So I'll let Tony take the lead on this because he's essentially really running this for us.
Yeah, so just kind of bring everybody up to speed, we did go ahead and ratify the Waukesha County Emergency Management Plan for the interim at the last meeting. So I spoke with Kathy Schweik, who is the Waukesha County Management Coordinator, and she agrees that that's the best move that we can make at this time until we identify what our next steps are. So first of all, Kathy is the person that can help us with this plan and the development of it. She believes that there's a requirement, since we are an incorporated village, that we have to have a standalone comprehensive emergency management plan for the village itself. But I can't find anything in the regulations that states that. And instead, we could just simply put together I apologize, we can either do the standalone comprehensive emergency management plan, or we can reference the plan, but we would have to basically make that into a village statute. So one way or the other, as she's checking into this and finding our pathway, if we do have to have our own standalone plan, it's fairly simple to do that. Everybody else has used the county plan as a backbone and just basically changed the language as necessitated to fit their own molds. But what we do need to do is a couple of things. We will need to designate a head of emergency management services. That's basically is just a designee that can take care of the plan, can take care of coordination in case there is emergency management. It could get kicked to either the police chief, fire chief, or we designate a standalone individual. They do state that it cannot be a political position. It has to be someone that stands away from that. The other thing that we need to do is that we need to develop standard operating procedures in our different departments that relate directly to emergency management and how things are put together for incident command and how we would integrate into the larger picture during a catastrophic event. So there's quite a bit of language inside of the comprehensive emergency management plan that the county has that can serve as the backbone for the information. I have encouraged law enforcement, fire department, and public works to be able to reach out to their counterparts to see what SOPs they have together and to integrate that back as our own SOPs. So I don't know where this stands, but no matter how we, I don't know where it currently stands on how you guys are getting this together, but I'm sure it's coming along fantastically, right, Chief?
A little bit there.
So before we can do either one of those, either put a statute to reference in the CDMP that exists with the county, or if we have to have our standalone, that is what we need, is those SOPs to back it up. That is regulatory, that is state law, that we have to have those in. So, once we get those together, then we have to put together a training program so that all village employees and anyone else that's referenced in understands how this flows, and we have to practice it on an annual basis. So it would be a tabletop session where we'd all get together and make sure everybody understands the SOPs and how it relates through to incident command and the CEMP itself. So that's the steps that we need to go through. For right now, if we have something happen, we are covered, but Kathy is going to get back to me and tell me which direction we have to go, and then we can start putting it together from there. That's where we're at.
Thank you.
So we are continuing to meet, and the department heads were told to bring their SOPs forward. And we learned that there's a lot that need to be created at this point. So,
It's gonna be
so I don't know that we will meet what the deadline the board has put in place. It's really dependent on department heads putting SOPs together that we don't have in play right now. Or in some of them, it's bringing them forward that we do have in play, making sure that they're correct and up to date. So, any questions?
I'm assuming you're gonna want some SOPs for staff too, be it the village board or front office. We would all have some sort of responsibility or duty during an emergency.
Right.
Whether it's just getting information out to the public or,
Well,
so I think.
that's some of the things that, as you heard that we discussed, there's allocations set aside for duties of like a public information officer. But I don't know if anybody here has those qualifications to be able to perform that. That may be something that we would immediately have to go to the county to receive. And that's why some of the other categories have, that we just basically have to say that slot would be filled directly by Waukesha County because we don't have the sufficient resources here to do that.
Correct.
Qualified individuals to be able to perform those duties.
I think the one thing that also the board will need to work on is figuring out who we would appoint as head of emergency management. Some municipalities have a emergency management team. Now, we are not that big, so that is not my recommendation, but I think we need to have someone who is trained, willing to do this, to be in this role that we would have to assign
No.
as a duty,
Correct.
so.
I'll reach out to a couple other
Yeah, go ahead.
municipal leaders. I'll see what I can get if they have some
Network a little bit.
if they have some SOPs for their staff, you know, and how we can
Right in.
borrow some of what they have.
So aside from this, like phone numbers and other emergency information that would be specific to the village here, in the current CEMP that Waukesha County has the duties of, like the president or the head of the municipality, is fairly well spelled out. So we don't necessarily have to go digging too deep for those SOPs, but the three main ones again is police, fire, and DPW.
There may be, I was just thinking there may be some things that the clerk treasurer need to be on top of, as far as just day-to-day running of the building itself.
Oh, I would highly encourage us to have those together if we don't already. For finance, which is another section into itself, there are certain requirements to be able to perform those duties. I would assume that there would be some integration between the village and the county whenever it would come to finance and record keeping and things of those nature, things of those nature.
Do you want me to reach out to the Village of Rochester and see?
Sure,
She's pending.
yeah, I'll reach out to a couple other municipalities too, and see what they can get us.
You need some, well, we don't know.
Thank you very much for your efforts
You
on
won't
this.
come home when you see this lot back.
I know it's a very daunting task.
We won't meet the deadline, but we will get it done.
Right,
So we're making progress.
thank you. I
And throw a
appreciate
date out there to hit,
Okay, where is it?
you know, so.
Yep.
But everybody knows there's gonna be a large effort to get there, so.
We're not making the date on the water study either, so. Is Chief still on the phone?
All right, it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes
Yeah.
away.
All right, we're up to our last agenda item here so far, item 7G, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding buyout of police officer. Last thing in your packet,
No.
we have a full-time officer that's leaving us, you have
Yeah, see,
on
you
the
get
front
some
page.
metro come off, but that's gonna be there as only on, probably.
So this was discussed at finance.
Yeah, everything
And
that
it
we
was
owe him.
approved, it was reviewed.
It was approved?
Yeah,
It was approved, the times, everything spelled out correctly.
yep,
So was the story he was just going to another municipality?
correct,
Correct.
Because he hadn't been here that long, right?
correct.
And this is per contract, so it's
Yeah.
nothing,
Perfect.
nothing we can dispute or anything like that, so I will make a motion to approve the buyout.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
So when is he leaving?
He's gone.
He's gone already.
Oh, he's gone already.
We're gonna put it in.
Yeah.
Oh, payout, I'm sorry.
Yeah, see if Frank can come out, or agree now.
Any further discussion?
Well, first do my.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then we'll, I'll probably,
Motion carries.
probably after that.
Correspondence,
All right, tell you
you
about it.
have anything? Excellent. Public comments, any public comments, please try and keep, there's nobody here.
Unless one of us want to change chairs.
Trustee Khan,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? We are adjourned.
So this is still on at this point?
Everybody have a nice holiday.
You two might,
Next Mike. Take
Hey,
care.
Mike. Hey, Mike,